And okay, you guys, I have Regina here with me today. She's so sweet. She's doing this even though she has sick kiddos and she's got a little kiddo on her chest. But this is who I coach, right? Moms with kids at home who are just trying to like manage it all. So I wanted you to come on here because I wanted you to share a little bit about your experience with coaching, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yes, coaching was really fun, and it was very interesting because I had been wanting to be coached, and I had peeked my eye out. I had a list of things I was kind of looking for, someone who can kind of get what I was going through. I've never been clinically diagnosed with depression, but I could tell that after having 3 kids and having a difficult time managing things in my life, I needed some help. And the best way I felt like I could receive that was through coaching. And I really was impressed with Emily because she gets the spiritual aspect of it, and spiritual and cultural and the thought process that sometimes we learn in our religion too. And so she was very helpful, really giving me a holistic view of all of my thoughts and really trying to figure out what is it that's like holding me back, or what is it that I'm actually thinking, and helping me and guiding me and giving me these tools to really make sense of everything.
Yeah. And I love that you say, like, I help moms, or you're like after 3 kids, but you weren't clinically diagnosed, but you had 3 kids. And I think it's interesting that in almost every other area of our life, we hire people to help us. But when it comes to motherhood, we kind of feel this badge of honor to do it all our own, even like to cope with our emotional health. And being one of the most important things that we have, it makes sense that we would want someone to help us with that. But it's a hard thing to do. So what do you think held you back from like getting help? I don't know if you waited so long or anything, but what were your fears before coaching with me?
Yeah, I think some things that held me back were financial. So we had talked a little bit about like, well, how much does it cost, and what can I, just understanding that aspect. And honestly, I'm very happy that I went through with it, because I've left with tools that can help me today that are going to stay with me for the rest of my life. And so that's an investment in myself. I feel like one barrier sometimes to seeking help, especially coaching, is how we see ourselves. And we need to recognize that we're worth it. We deserve to also be taken care of. And that's something that I think also pushed me to do coaching, is acknowledging that I can take care of everyone else, but I can't do my job and take care of everyone else unless I take care of myself first and fill my bucket and really sort things out with me. If my goal is to be more present with my children, be more present with my husband, have a more clear vision for our life, our family, growth as a couple, as a family, I can't reach my potential as fully, as quickly, if I'm getting in my own way. And so that's why having a coach is really helpful, because Emily is very good at listening. And, one thing I think I appreciated the most is we talk to friends. Friends have one function, but coaching is another. Coaching is really to help propel you forward. And I feel like what I really appreciated about you is I would say things, and if I were going to a friend, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's really hard. Sometimes they validate you, but does that really help? Not really. I feel like when I speak with you, I've been able to be, my thoughts are challenged. I really have to think about it, and I come out with like a solution or like some guidance. And that's really sometimes what's missing. You can't just talk to people and you'll just be stuck in a vicious cycle. And I think that's sometimes where we get stuck. So hiring a coach is really helpful. Someone who has tools to really help you get out of that, tools that you can implement yourself afterwards too.
Yeah, that's so useful. Yeah, I think that with our friends and our spouse and our family members, they're well meaning and there's a place for empathy, of course. Like we all need someone to just get in the ditch with us sometimes, right? We're like, I don't need help getting out. Could you just dive in for a second, get dirty with me?
Yes.
And I have friends like that. And I love that they do that. But coaching is there so when we're ready to get out of the ditch. And for a lot of us, we're telling everybody because we want someone to pull us out of the ditch, but we don't really want them to. Like, I don't really want my husband to tell me what to do because I'm like, yeah, right? So yeah, it can be really useful to have a coach, somebody to give you guidance, show you how you're creating the result that you have and help you kind of climb out of it. And our family members and our friends, they're trying to feel better. So they're thinking, I want to make her feel better so I can feel better because she's so down, right? So their advice is going to be generally pretty terrible. And that's okay, right? Like, it's just like when I really want my kids to feel better because I want to be done being so concerned about them, right? My advice is not always going to be the best at helping them actually feel their feelings and move through it and learn how to feel anxious or angry. I just want them to, okay, that's enough. Now let's move on, right? I want to feel better myself. So
yes.
I see that being an issue with family and friends.
Yes. And I would say too, one thing that's important to me is I like to evaluate the scope of understanding of the person who I'm seeking information from. And you are a professional. This is what you do. This is what you are trained to do, and you are experienced in it. I can't go to, I would get very different advice and frankly, not very productive advice from someone who just sometimes loves me, but doesn't have that knowledge. And so that's why I know you care for me, but you have that knowledge to help me move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I love you. And I know. No.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, tell everybody some results, like tangible results or ways that you show up a little differently. And obviously it's not like life is perfect, right? Like you've been up all night, you still have 3 babies, right? You still have a spouse, you still have everyday things, but can you dig through the half of life that's hard and tell me if you see any things that are different or ways you show up different or things that you did because of our coaching?
Yeah, I would say 2 things are my biggest takeaways. One is the compassion side, compassion for myself. Almost like I'm grounding myself in that's okay. Like, so what? Like if something isn't happening the way I want it to, well, that's okay. And I almost feel like it's kind of bringing me back to reality and readjusting my expectations, and also just challenging my own ideas and my own feelings about things and trying to figure out, well, is it really that bothersome? You know? Or if my house is messy, I'm like, okay, that's okay. Like I'm able to separate now me as an individual and my results. Me and my efforts are different than my results. And so that's another big takeaway that I also took from with my time with you. And I would say my third one, holistically for myself, is I see the value of putting that time into me. And if I see something that is missing, I am more quick to nurse myself instead of putting myself back. And I'm able to recognize and advocate for myself better. Oh, nurse myself, meaning like, I'm better able to advocate for myself with my husband and say, I need time for me. I need to clock out. I need time to just recharge. There are different ways that I say it. I need time to just go on a walk. I've kind of recognized things that help me, things that I need to put into myself. And I think that's just a self-growth thing, really important for me to have recognized and just be more on top of it. You know, I don't want to wait until I'm super depleted to be paying attention to myself. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it anymore because I see more of my value. And
Yes.
if I'm able to just recognize, okay, this is not really working. That's okay. I give myself grace. I challenge what it is I'm thinking about. And then I do something to fill my own bucket.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's been very, very important because then I'm able to be in a better mindset to use the tools that I've learned with you to move forward in my life instead of just being in this vicious cycle of a lack of progress.
Mhm. Feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's interesting because the hardest part is like, I think of the entire coaching process. Even though people think they're afraid of like what I might say or if it's going to be hard or like having time for it, the hardest part is just pulling the trigger and being like, okay, I'm going to do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the most result creating part. Because when you have to make a strong decision for yourself, where at first you think it only benefits you, right? No one else knows what you're doing. Your kids aren't technically benefiting from it. To sign up, put money and time into yourself, I always tell people, is where almost half of the change comes from. Because we very rarely do that. And some women will be like, I don't know if I have time. And I'm like, okay, that might be something to think about, why you don't have an hour every other week for you. And so just having to set an appointment for you time is like so life-changing. Don't you?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I do remember you saying that too. You're saying, well, can you not find a little bit of time for yourself? And I think now that I have put in a little bit of time into myself, I'm like, oh, of course, like I want to prioritize that. It's hard to see it in the beginning, but once you're on the other side, you're like, oh, well, I should have done this sooner. And I think that's the most valuable part of coaching for me was now I have that understanding and a concrete example for myself where I can look back almost like a why, like why did I do this? Or how has this benefited me? That alone has been so invaluable. I'm able to I kind of say, I kind of like lost myself a little bit in motherhood. I'm not really living in my purpose. I say all these things, but already making that decision, because it's a decision for myself, for my own self-growth, for Regina, it has impacted so many parts of my life. And so just that one decision to invest in myself and to do coaching with you has improved my life in all ways.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Regina. You're the sweetest. I wish I lived close to you and I could watch your babies and you could go take a nap.
Oh,
I totally would do it.
It's true. She would.
Well, you would too. Regina's like
I would. Absolutely.
All right, Regina. Thank you so much.